brand. Show the logo screen for now. Start cam. I love learning that. See, I learned that from this week. Even that, like live view's on?
The blue light's on.
Even cam link isn't working now. All right, do me a favor and just, there's a cable right outside there.
Yeah, and do this thing.
Yeah, please. Hi, Lydia. Lydia, if you can hear me, just wave. Okay, cool, thanks. All right, we're just dealing with a small technical difficulty as usual. And this time I started early. Yeah, just unplug that HDMI. Yeah, we're just gonna switch over to a different camera. Oh, no, here. Inside.
No idea. Oh, I see.
All right, let's see if we can get the EOS utility to work. Let's get any of these cameras to work today.
Do you want me to turn it on now?
Sure. Oh, yeah, we don't need live. Do we need live view for that?
I don't know. I see you on the screen.
EOS, choose what happens. I mean, we had it working there. Turn live view off.
It is off.
Live view is off?
Yeah.
Turn it back on? No, that's not live view. Live view's at the back.
Nothing's reacting. It just says busy.
All right. Let's see if we can get the EOS. We're almost there. Just figure it's better that you can hear that I'm here than not. That's EOS utility, EOS webcam. No idea. I do not know. Okay, let's do this. Let's just go with the blacks. HDMI backend. What a genuine mystery. This was all just working, and then it stopped. All right, let's see if we can get this one to work. There's cam link. Live view. Try that again.
Am I supposed to press the shutter?
Start cam. Nope, that doesn't work.
Does that work?
Hey, I see some private chat. Yeah, you can hear me. That's great. Hi, everyone. Just hold on 1 second. I know there's some people that are watching, and we're just having a little camera. The camera was working literally perfectly right before I hit the live stream there, and for some reason it stopped. So I know that you can all hear me, which is fantastic, and I am here, and we're just trying to get me up on the screen with you all. Okay, so thanks a lot for your 2 seconds of patience here. Okay, let's try. Okay, that's not working. That's not working. Okay, let's try that. We were good. We were good. Yeah, wow. Just none of the, I have multiple cameras, and for some reason, I'm having trouble getting any of them to work at this point. So we're almost there. I'm pretty sure I'll get something to work. Okay, that's gray now. And Webcam obviously is not working. And cam link. Can you go into live view?
I don't know if the blue light's supposed to be on or off.
No.
So I can't tell if it's on live view or off. So I'm just pressing it.
All right. Well, I guess I'll just go to my webcam. We'll just leave that on anyway, just in case it decides to come back for us suddenly. In the last second, maybe we'll get a camera. But so again, I'm sorry, but what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and use my webcam on my laptop. And I know that people have joined and have basically left because it looks like it's not working and we're 15 minutes late. But I am happy that you're here and that I have your patience. And currently this is now a radio show. So we are going to be talking about what you see on the bottom of the screen there, connecting with your inner child and learning how they are holding you back. So I'm trying to just get really any camera to work at this point because I think some camera is better than no camera. And I don't really know why, but literally like all cameras are not working at this point, which is really strange. I mean, even the built-in camera works. All right, there we go. Let's do that one. All right, let's just go with whichever one I can get going today. All right, so I'm going to just see if I can get this camera going now. Here we go. Hey, there's something. All right, so I'm just going to hide the microphone a little bit because I do like it better when that's off screen. And we're going to see what we can do to get this party going in a few seconds. All right. So for all of those that are regulars, which is primarily actually Lydia, who comes every. So my son comes in and watches my. Just came in for once and actually watched my stream. He just to give me some feedback, see what's going on, and he watches a few of them just to see, kind of like what the standard of what I'm doing is. And the funny thing is, he says, "Who's Lydia?" And because he's like, every video mentions this Lydia lady, and he's like, "Is she a co-host? Because she's not on the screen." And I'm like, "No, Lydia is literally somebody who like has been to every single week. This is week 11. Week 11 we're in right now." And Lydia has been a regular. So I think it's just nice for anybody who wants to know who's Lydia that I keep saying hi to. So if you look into the live stream on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you are, please just say hi if you are here and watching. And I will get your comments and it comes through into StreamYard, which is StreamYard. This is the software I'm using, and all of your comments will come through to me. If you're in YouTube or Facebook, I did post a link that says it's a StreamYard link. And if you click on that, you can actually connect into the studio, it's called, where I am right now in StreamYard. They call it a studio. And then you can be on screen. So Lydia comes every single week. And the reason why nobody knows she's here is because Lydia is actually in StreamYard with me. So I'm just going to ask Lydia to wave. I'm going to add her.
Oh, hi.
Hi. So this is Lydia, who's actually in StreamYard with me. And she, in some of the weeks, has actually been on the screen giving feedback, getting some live coaching. And so you can't see her out in Facebook and YouTube because she's actually, you can see her name. She's actually in StreamYard with me. So I'm going to just say thanks, Lydia, and I'll take you off. So that's why nobody can see who she is, because she's not showing up in YouTube and Facebook. So, yep, she's a regular, and I do invite you all to be regulars. And if you do want to be on the screen and have a conversation with me, which is the intention of this is live coaching, then just follow that StreamYard link that you see in the stream, wherever you are. So that said, this is the point of this stream, is actually to have a free empowerment coaching, and I do this every single Wednesday. Lydia has shown up every Wednesday so far, which has been really fantastic. But again, if you want to ask questions, please text them out and type them out and have them sent in to me. And if you want to get on screen with me, then you can follow that StreamYard link and you'll be here in the studio with me. Okay, so let's get going with this. Now, I apologize for the quality of the video because you're on my webcam right now. And I actually did have the camera working perfectly, like literally for the last 2 hours. And no idea why it just suddenly stopped. But such is life and we move on. So here we go. What I did this week. So we're going to be talking about the inner child and basically what that is, how was it formed, and why does it matter? And as adults, we tend to really not even have to think about our inner child because generally speaking, when we have a quality life and as we're growing, we are with proper guidance, proper parenting, and a safe upbringing, we would be being encouraged to actually have expression and talk and process out our emotions or our experiences in real time as we're growing. But if we don't, what will happen is we will store that confusion, that sadness, that unexpressed emotion. We'll store that at whatever age we experience it, and that will stay in us in a part of our memory, and it will stay at that age and in that experience until the future. So this is the basis of what we're talking about this week, is that basically if we don't, as we grow up and become adults, if we don't go back and look for stored pains, stored unexpressed or unprocessed emotions and thoughts, then they will stay in our subconscious mind as beliefs, as learned behaviors, beliefs, and they could be the source of some of our anxiety today, when we could have a perfect life today and have great lives and jobs and have everything going really well and still have unexplained anxieties, unexplained fears that we don't really know why we have them. And the answer is usually to go back to look for our inner child. And this is something that we can do using hypnotherapy, talk therapy, expressive arts therapy, or even mindfulness, meditation. These are all things that I'm have decided to train in over the last 5 years, 6 years now, and it's become basically the primary focus of my work is making a connection to what has happened in your past to explain what's happening in your present, and then empowering, like merging those or letting that go, and then looking at how that has been sabotaging you or holding you back because of an old belief, and how you can move forward once you do that. So let's get into some details about a bit of the kind of, I wouldn't say the science, but the explanation of the science behind how this is happening. So where did the inner child kind of get formed? So as we are growing up, so I have, and again, for any new viewers, everything I'm going to be saying, I've actually typed out onto the screen as bullet points. I'm going to expand on those, and we're going to go through these points. And instead of me switching away to like a PowerPoint slide presentation, I just put the points right up on the screen with me. And I might read them, or I might just talk about what's on the screen. And this gives you a nice kind of chapter marker. Then if you want to come back and watch a replay, you can kind of scan the video in YouTube, and all of these bullet points will pop up as a way of quickly remembering what we talked about today. So our brains really love predictability. They like things that are you can expect them. Okay, they like for things to be predictable and to just know that it's in the right place at the right time, and we have a way of analyzing or labeling or processing in some way what the information around us is. And if we don't have a way of understanding it, then it stays unfamiliar. So languaging and being supported by our parents when we're growing up is very important, that they explain things to us and not be, short-tempered or impatient. And it's when something is familiar and we understand what it is, and then and we understand when it is and why it is and what to expect, then that creates comfort in our brains. And so whenever we start to create comfort, we really predominantly, we like that comfort so that we can more easily focus and identify when something is unfamiliar. Because we've developed, through evolution, we developed our senses to be more focused on something that is a surprise, something that's standing out, something that's out of place, something that's unfamiliar, because of a way of protecting ourselves from being, in distant history, attacked from wild animals or even ambushed by other tribes that are attacking us, which was a very common thing in the human world. So if it's unpredictable and if it's unfamiliar, we just immediately call it dangerous. Or if it's not even at the level of dangerous, it's just unwanted. It's discomfort. It's uncomfortable. Here's the paradox, though. Serotonin specifically is created in our brains by unfamiliar things. It's really interesting. So if you play a game for the very first time and you kind of get over the rules and the parts that are unfamiliar, so you get comfortable with the rules, and the whole point of the game is that it has some twists, twist endings, it has some unpredictable experiences, and that's the fun. So when something is novel and unpredictable, that creates a little bit of fun tension. And when we come to realize what the answer is or what the meaning was to that, we solve a puzzle, there's serotonin release and dopamine release. So it's interesting how if things become too familiar, we get bored and we don't have any serotonin around that. And so some amount of unfamiliarity is needed, but it's important to, over time, appreciate unfamiliar things as the fun part of life and getting resilience to knowing when something is actually like fun unfamiliar versus like dangerous unfamiliar. This is a major way of actually reducing anxiety as well. Jennifer Goldup is also a regular, and Jennifer is now in with us this week, and she's in Facebook. So when she sends in a message and says, "Hi," Jennifer Goldup is a long haul trucker, and she is officially in Michigan right now. So hi, Jennifer, another regular that comes every week. Good to have you back, Jennifer. So we'll move on to our next point here. Interestingly, I actually found this pretty hard to believe, but they say that the only fears that we're born with are fear of loud noises and fear of being dropped, fear of falling. And that all other fears are generally a learned behavior. That if we don't have a bad experience with a dog ever, there's no reason for us to ever have a fear of a dog. I'm just using fear of dogs because it could be a common phobia. But I've heard some psychologists say that there are some fears that are genetic, that we could actually be born predisposed to have an anxiety or a fear of something that we've actually never had an experience to. And this would be the theory of epigenetics. So epigenetics would be, how we are born with the knowledge that things. So one of the generic fears when we're born is things that are crawl and things that slither, and that actually surpasses fear of loud noises, fear of falling. So where do we get this fear of slithering and fear of crawling and fear of fangs? That comes from epigenetics of years of evolution, and that's being coded into our DNA. So we do have caution, healthy caution, and that's still a learned behavior, but that's from ancestors having pain. So it's still the idea of being born with only the fear of loud noises and falling. That would be like if all of your ancestors never been harmed by anything and they just had total trust in everything, then they would at least have those two. And we develop a fear of something when it's a sudden shock that we don't have an explanation for, so it remains a mystery, or when it's repetitive discomfort. So it'd be like If I sit on a couch that has a needle in it somewhere and I get poked every time I sit on it and I don't know what's going on or why I'm being poked, over time I'm going to be like, you know what, I'm just going to avoid that couch. I don't want to be poked over and over again. So that's the idea of the learned behavior. So, and when something is a shock, it's like an instant learned behavior versus over time. So we, when we're very young, we don't actually have all of our brain parts fully developed yet. And as we grow between 0 and 7 years old, we're developing brain parts that have to do with experiencing shame. So you might find like really young kids have no problem with running naked at the beach. There is no shame. They have to be taught that. And rejection and abandonment, a kid does not have a fear of abandonment. They just, when they're crying, they're generally crying. A baby's generally crying because they're hungry, physically uncomfortable, tired. That's pretty much it, really, because the physical discomfort is like they're cold or they're like lying in a weird way. So it's generally mostly those three things. Babies don't generally cry because they think that you have abandoned them. They don't even have that type of processing yet. So as we are developing and growing, we start to create stories that lead to the idea of shame or rejection. The important point is that at any age at all, when we experience either a negative or positive reaction to something, we record everything, every detail into that memory. So anything that our sense can be aware of in that moment, it will register all of it. Even the slightest sounds, the absolute slightest movement. If there's a big bang somewhere and we don't know what it is, we start looking around for like what moved, what shifted, was there a sound before that happened? So we're trying to record every possible detail to either a negative or a positive reaction that we have, because as we see later in one of my points, it's things that are out of the norm that we pay most attention to. If things are just common and usual, we generally just we just don't pay attention. So so I just said this, every detail gets recorded. Okay. Now, if it's very, very pleasurable, we record every detail because we want to try and recreate that pleasure. We like recreating pleasure. If it's, and we record every detail of a pain, for a way of staying safe and knowing what to do the next time. But generally speaking, we're looking for homeostasis. We're looking to return back to pleasure or to just peacefulness, which is kind of neutral. And so when we are recording all of the details from a negative experience, we're doing that because we've basically created a mild anxiety that something is going to happen again that is still a puzzle. It's an unsolved mystery. That's that last point there. And if it's unsolved, then we're going to feel unsafe because we have no control. So anxiety and fear really come from a lack of control over, when and whether or not something is going to happen again. So here's the basic steps of how a memory gets formed. There is a painful or pleasurable event, which those two little lines right there means next or leads to. Our senses and our nervous system have a reaction, okay? If a sound happens, our eardrums pick up on the airwaves. They create an electrical signal in the brain. It's really just vibrations. There's no meaning at all. There's limbic system and sympathetic systems, all these kinds of systems that send signals all over the place to try and create, and the amygdala creates an emotional reaction to that. Do I like that? Am I scared? Is that pleasurable sound? I don't know. And then it records a memory of every single detail. And then if it's a pain, it will continuously run a program of always looking for those same details for whenever they happen. Just for everybody that knows, because I had to switch from my pro camera that's right there To my laptop, you're on my lap. So every time I move my hands, my lap shakes, and so the camera shakes. So I'll try not to do it. So if we can create a label, which is a what, or a meaning or purpose, which is a why that happened, what happened, why did it happen? If we can create that and then express our perspective of what it is and why we think it happens, and if we can express that, then generally speaking, the energy will dissipate, the emotional energy will dissipate, and we can actually choose to just simply forget it and not have it affect us in the future. But as a kid, we don't always have the way of describing what it is or why it happened. And so we generally look for others to do that for us. And if they don't do that, we're going to hold onto that memory until we grow up and we find that answer later. And that's how our inner child gets ingrained as an imprint in that moment with all of those details. We get an imprint of us at that age in that place, and it gets stored as a memory with all of those details, like a video almost, or like a hologram, to be more accurate, because you can step into it in the 3D world, and it waits until we can express it. So an example of this, and then as we grow up, we start projecting that onto our world, because our subconscious mind is looking for that danger again to understand it later as we grow up. And we start projecting that fear of the pain. So here's an example. So as a child, if somebody's wearing a yellow raincoat and they just happen to be standing near us, and somewhere in the direction of the person standing in the yellow raincoat, there's this massive loud crashing, and we look in the direction as a kid to the sound, and the first thing we see is person standing in a yellow raincoat. We're going to record all of that information, yellow raincoat, and they're going to be part of that stressful or shocking experience. Later in life, we can just be walking down the street, and whenever somebody with a yellow raincoat just passes on that same side of us, standing in generally the same direction as when we were a kid, that loud noise, we can start to feel an experience of being tense, retraction, or rejecting that person, and we may not even remember where that came from, because we're projecting that memory onto the yellow raincoats. One major detail that is uncommon, unfamiliar. Why is a person standing beside me in a yellow raincoat with a crashing sound? The only thing I know is yellow raincoat. I don't know where that sound came from. So now every yellow raincoat is going to remind me of that scary situation, and we'll anchor it to the imprint of the yellow raincoat, because that's the only detail that we have. Okay. So I'm using an example of a yellow raincoat, but to be a little bit more, every day, if our parents, when we're a kid, let's say this actually happened to somebody I know, when they were a kid, their parents divorced, and their mom went on to a new man, and they were fine. But as he grew up, he was young. He was maybe like 4 or 5 years old. As he grew up, he would hear arguments happening with his mother and this new man. And it was mostly fine. But to him, they're on the other side of a closed door. He doesn't know what's going on. He heard, let's call him John, which we usually use the Jane Doe, John Doe. So John Doe, as a child, hears arguing, and there's a point where that's actually now familiar. Every day there's a bit of an argument. That's fine. But over time, he said to me, he started to hear more like banging and like things hitting up against the wall, and he had to start creating the like, what is this and why is this happening? So he can understand that the why was like, they're arguing, they're upset. I understand what that looks like. That's familiar. But I don't know why that sound is happening. Is somebody being pushed? Do I have to be scared that my mom is actually being pushed around now by this man? And if he doesn't really know what's happening, he actually did. This is a real story. He anchored that into his memory. And now in his adult life, he's still trying to process that. Like, I want to know what happened. And that keeps him in the child, that inner child stays very active in him, and he can actually re-experience being a child when he goes back to that memory. So he created the why right in the moment. He decided, in this example, this John Doe example, he decided that the sounds that he heard bouncing up against the wall, he decided that that was probably the man pushing his mom around. He has no proof of that. He just had to create a why. And he had to use whatever language was available to him when he was, let's say, I don't know, 6, 7 years old. So he's doing the best he can to process and express that in the moment at 7. But whenever he asked what was the reality, he wasn't given it. He was like, oh, everything's fine, everything's fine. And they just like smooth it over. But his parents at the time didn't understand like child psychology and didn't know, here's what happened. And if you heard any sounds, here's what they were. And you can now know what's going on. So you don't have to be stressed about it. But he didn't get that. And now he lives with that trauma until he can come to terms with just not knowing. We're going to prioritize emotional responses versus just stimuli. So, oh, there's a really big banging sound. Okay, well, that's scary, but oh man, somebody pushed me at school. I'm really scared. We're going to remember that emotion, that memory, because there's a stronger emotion. So then it will start to diminish the priority of dealing with, just some loud bang when we were a kid. So I have an example here that I wrote. You're never going to forget winning the lottery. That's a big positive emotion, but you're going to forget an unimportant television commercial that just played. Most people can't even remember the logo or brand of the commercial they just heard. Like, that's a real thing. There's just no emotional connection. But if something really negative or really positive happens, you're going to start there as you're going back to work with your inner child. You're going to what's going to come up predominantly is whatever has a strong positive or negative emotion. And as you clear those, then more subtle ones will surface until eventually you get to the point where they're really just memories. They just come like more like neutral memories where we don't really care. Like, it doesn't really affect us emotionally. It's just a memory. And then we feel more at peace as an adult. When there is a negative event that we have, children we all as kids try to apply a meaning, and kids generally blame themselves. So another major reason why we have to look at our inner child is because our inner child generally blames themselves. If something's going wrong with the parents, the child is going to say, my parents are arguing because I did something that makes them not want me anymore. So now they're arguing and they're going to break up because I wasn't a good kid. Kids will generally blame themselves. Or I am not capable. That's the I am not enough right there. I'm not capable of breaking up that fight. I'm not capable of keeping them happy. If I was more lovable, if I was more special, they would focus on how nice I am and they wouldn't argue with each other. So I'm just not good enough. That's the second one. The third one is, I wish I had more information about this. I just feel stuck. I don't really know what to do about it. My parents are arguing, and I don't really know why they're not giving me all the information. I'm just stuck. So I'm just going to keep on processing this until the day comes where either they tell me the truth or I start reading the internet and I learn every possible scenario as to what could have happened. And then I might just decide what the truth is, and I can not feel stuck. So these are the three predominant things. I tend to say and I'm saying that from the perspective of you saying this to yourself. Like, you might be saying to yourself, I don't know, I'm stuck. I need to Google information. So putting a little pause here. So we can come into this important point. We will hold the memory until we can express it and understand the emotion that we tied to the experience. Or if we never get the information that we need, we have to create a purpose. Okay? And we hold that memory at the age and the place where the imprint happened. We remember all the details. But what that means is that whenever we go back to that memory, if it happened when we were 1, our mind will completely recreate our experience at that age, which means a 50-year-old man will actually become a 1-year-old baby, their 1-year-old baby self, because their brain has to recreate all of the details, including what position were they in, what sound were they making, so if you go back into child work, inner child work, we go about it lightly, because if you go 100% back into a memory, you could actually become a nonverbal, rolling on the ground baby. People can do that. So we like to more reference it. And we're going to do the exercise today about how to more like reference it as an adult rather than be re-traumatized by going right back into the experience of being a baby. And I've actually had that happen in front of me in sessions where I had a grown woman actually, just from me playing sounds, believe it or not, it was an ocean drum. It's actually sitting over there. It's a drum that makes its balls roll and it makes an ocean sound. And she was so comfortable that she laid on her side on the ground. It was a public sound therapy session many years ago. And as she feels so comfortable and so at peace, she lies down and curls up on the ground because of her back as an adult, to keep her back from being safe. But when she curled up, she replicated a fetus position. So the sound of the water, not necessarily the ocean, and the fetus position and the comfort, and then she put a blanket on herself and felt warm, in her words. That combination met enough of the memory details that it put her back literally into her mother's womb as a fetus. She then actually became nonverbal and made kind of like humming sounds, because she was a fetus and didn't have a mouth and didn't have words, and made kind of humming sounds and fluid motion sounds. And she continued to do that until I stopped playing the ocean sounds and went on to more like chimes and bells, bing, bong, bong. And she kind of woke out of that trance state or that hypnotic state. And then she was able to speak as an adult of this memory. So I'm going to put that point up again. Our brain completely recreates our experiences at that point in time, any age, even if it's yesterday. Even though we do grow up and develop our neural pathways, we get more ways of processing, we get more languaging, the memory will still stay at that age unless we go back repeatedly and make a connection between that time where we didn't have language and now where we do. And that's how we merge our inner child to our adult. And that's where we can start to create the bridge and merge and integrate. So I talked about how I have this way at the top here. Okay, so I put this at the bottom. Learning how our inner children are holding us back from creating our adult lives. Okay, so this is what we're going to start talking about. Because of the way the software works, these bullets, I have to scroll. And I've scrolled all the way up to that little ticker tape, and now I'm going to scroll all the way back down to find that point again. So, because I don't want to speak, because I'm about to speak on, and then I'm going to repeat the point by putting it back up. So this is where the sabotaging happens. Our inner child has an experience where they are stuck. They don't have the language. They don't have the explanation. They don't know the what or the why. They're stuck as a memory now, as an imprint, like a hologram. We grow up, develop new pathways, new experiences. We get adults. Our inner child stays in that memory as a full embodied experience, but it's stored. We kind of think of it as being stored in a box or like on a videotape, then the videotape's just put on the shelf. but it's more like a VR headset videotape. So it feels like you're fully there when you put it back on. And the thing is that if we move on, and as an adult, if we feel like, I don't care to go back to that memory, I'm never going to process it, that videotape or that like imprint of us being a child, it has its own, like a hologram of us. It has its own ability to think. And that becomes a separate part of us, our child. So we have I'm going to put it down here. We have a child, and I'm trying to get in there. We have a child that thinks independently within our brain, and we have an adult, which is like now, here and now. Okay. So our inner child can have its own independent thoughts in our brain while our adult has its own independent thoughts. And if our inner child thinks that we are moving on without it, it will start to stand up or become defiant or become sick. It will try and get attention. And it will start to sabotage your adult self by creating emotions or patterns that it had as a child to remind you to come back and process that stored trauma. If our inner child feels unimportant, low priority, disrespected for what they were experiencing, they will start to sabotage you by making you feel the feelings they had, even though you have no reason to feel them now. And I say perfect child-minded wisdom because I want you to know what was happening to you at that child age. Your perspective was an amazing perspective. And it's a very valuable one to understand how a child sees it. Because when we grow up, we generally learn what to think from people around us. But a child has a natural born perspective because it doesn't have too much learned behavior yet. And that childlike perspective can generally be very enlightening. And I want to really say that it's really important to listen to how kids see the world. And you would really learn a lot as an adult. And you could actually Google this, it's like, crazy things that kids say or amazing, perspectives of children. And there's like all kinds of quotes from kids that are like adults are sharing something. And like a 5-year-old or a 3-year-old would be like, I find that when I stare at clouds, I think, somewhere there's a rainbow, and it makes me not so sad about the cloud anymore. Like sometimes just that little remind, like that's a kid saying that, and they came up with that on their own. They didn't necessarily get taught that. And that reminds us that we have that already in us to see things in a positive way. And we generally learn to be on the watch for negative stuff happening. And so we're predominantly projecting negative ideas. But, it's a really great idea. A really great purpose to going back and reconnecting with the inner child is to regain that childlike perspective that we may have lost. There it is. That's me talking because I already know what I'm writing, but I'm putting up the point. All right. So that there's a visual for anybody that needs the visual. Okay. When we do go back to a memory that was stored by our inner child, by offering a new perspective or new language as an adult, by offering that to our inner child, we can start to suggest new perspectives and rewire the neural pathways through neuroplasticity. We can start to rewire the neural pathways that were formed through the pattern as a kid of looping on a stuck story. We can start offering a new perspective to break out of that pathway and into more positive, more opportunistic pathways. Okay, it actually does rewire the brain, and it helps us to find a new purpose, a new meaning to something that we just locked in as a pain and suffering. So we're going to go through now. So I wrote out 7 steps. This is called clickbait. Clickbait is when something is written in a particular way to make you click on it because it creates a sense of ease and a sense of secrecy. So this is a clickbait title. Ready? 7 steps to reconnect to your inner child and how it's going to change your life. Okay, so we're going to do that now. So what I am offering to you and what I'm even suggesting to you is that you take the time now. We have 15 minutes. And I don't have anyone currently writing comments. I see people are watching. I really appreciate that you're here. Please feel free to write comments as I'm talking and share what's happening with you. But I will let you know this is a live stream, and whatever you do, type obviously is you're in social media, so people will know. So know that you're sharing from a vulnerable place, but your sharing shows other people that they're not alone. So there is a power in sharing your vulnerability with other people that feel too vulnerable to share, and it shows them that it's safe to share too. So we're all here to help each other. Okay. Okay. So what I'm inviting and sharing with you is I'm just going to read these steps. We're going into a practice now. We're going to try and embody these. Jennifer Goldup is trucking through Michigan right now. So, but Jen is an extremely wise and intelligent person. And Jen, you can just kind of like, as you're staring at the road and trucking along, just kind of imagine and think this thought as if you're listening to a radio. So for Jen, for you, imagine I'm asking you questions and you just come up with an answer. But for everyone else that can focus inward and not pay attention to what's in front of you, I'd really like for you to try and feel the emotions or feel the sensations of the holographic memory that you have as we go through these steps. Okay, so let's get started. Let's take a breath. And I'm going to put that on the screen. Steps to working with your inner child. See, a comment came in. Yeah, there's Jen. Great. She's got it. Message received. 10-4. Okay, so we're switching over to like shooting information out of my face to feel in my body. All right. So I encourage you to do exactly what you see me doing. I'm just doing it because it's inherent to me now after years of doing this. Stretch, breathe, adjust, feel comfortable, check your surroundings, have an understanding what is predictable, what is unpredictable, and be safe where you are. Okay. If you, especially for somebody like Jen who's trucking, if you can't do this right now, follow along as best as you can and know that this is being recorded. Go to my YouTube channel and you can watch this video later and redo this experience if you want, as many times as you want, to when you feel safe and comfortable. Okay, here we go. Step number 1. Believe, understand the science and the truth that you do have an inner child. You may not be able to hear them, and maybe you don't have very many reasons to have to go back, but at least understand you have one. And you have an inner child, you have an inner baby, you have an inner teenager, you have an inner version of any milestone age in your life. You will have a version of that, and you can talk to them. We're going to try and do that now. As an adult, allow yourself to understand that your inner child may use any form of communication, movement, humming, mumbling, incoherent words. It might sound like that. You might suddenly become more kind of tired, or you might feel more small. You might hear things. You might suddenly smell things that you remember as a kid. Your child can use any sense, and any position of that sense could feel like it's coming from outside of you or inside of you to communicate with you. And generally speaking, the main reason why we don't even know we have an inner child is because we just don't know how to listen to it. Okay, so it's any form of communication. And you build trust with your inner child by visiting them often and inviting them to share any details using any communication about what is happening in their location, at their age, at their location, with their senses. Visiting them often means every day or at different times of day, just sitting quietly and just saying, hello. I can hear you, I can feel you, and I know and I trust that I can do that. We have that connection forever because you're in me. But I'd love to hear you more. I'd love to feel or sense you even more. And I don't know how you're trying to communicate with me, but I am now officially opening the channel. I'm inviting you. This is something you say out loud and in your mind, and feel the warmth of this. I am inviting you. I'm inviting you to communicate however you need, whatever you're feeling. I would love to know more and remember you better. Whether or not you can sense your inner child, ask after inviting, after opening that connection and really feeling present with them and genuinely feeling authentic in inviting them, you can just ask. If you can't hear them yet, say, how are you feeling? What are you sensing around you? Do you hear anything? Do you see anything? How does that make you feel? Are you happy? Are you sad? Are you just unsure? Just sitting around? Bored? Stuck? And just waiting? Ask if they want to sit closer to you. Ask if they want to sit right beside you so they can feel shoulder to shoulder. And just feel in your body a sense of a nodding, like a yes, or a sense of a no. Maybe you feel tightness. That might be a no to you. And maybe you feel like relaxing when you ask this question. Do you want to sit close to me? If you feel relaxing in your adult body, that might be a sign of your child saying yes. So understand that you're going to feel in your adult body, in your senses, what your child is communicating through their memory of a sense. So feel your own body as an adult. Ask them, would you like a hug? Would you like me to put my hand on your back? Maybe I can rub your back, or just be still with my hand on your back or shoulder. Would you like some physical distance? Do you want to sit facing me or somewhere at a distance? Or maybe you don't want any contact. That's fine. And as an adult, just feel your body your body's reaction. And that will be your child communicating. And thank you everyone who's sharing their comments about how this is happening for you right now. Some people feeling sad, some people feeling like their body suddenly needs to be held. You just give that to yourself now. Just be happy that you're feeling their sadness and that they're communicating. This builds trust. Let them know that you now have what they didn't have. You now have what they needed back then. And offer that to them. Ask them if they want to hear more about what is new that you have. And share that with them. You can just talk to yourself. You can just speak out loud. Well, I can feel that I'm really sad. I can feel you're really sad, but I have a really good life now. And I can feel that you're stuck. But I have ways of getting freedom that you didn't have. And I want to offer that to you. I can see that I can feel and hear that and sense that you're confused and you just want answers. And I'm letting you know that I've learned that I can be okay with not having those answers, that it's actually not a reason to be stuck. We can move on. Or maybe I can offer you perspective, some possibilities that you didn't know were possible. More possibilities, more ideas that you didn't have back then. And remember that when you are talking to your inner child, you might start to become more tired, dreamy. It feels like you're going into like a dream state, like a hypnotic state or a trance. This is very normal because you're a big body talking to a little body. And this inner communication takes a lot of your resources. So this is why we're being present and patient with ourselves. And this is a practice that we do over and over again over time. This is very important. Ask your inner child, do you wish to stay where you are? Or do you want to come and be with me here in the present moment? Because I'm an adult now, and you don't have to stay there anymore as a kid, because now I am an adult and I can help you. You're safe with me. Do you want to stay there? Do you want me to stay there with you when I come visit? Or would you like to come and be with me here? And I can show you so many things. I can help you to get the gratitude that you never got. I have great new friends that are giving me the attention that you never got. I have cool toys. I got phones and computers and cars and places to go that you could only wish you could go see. We can go do that now. If you come with me, we can do that. But it's okay. If you want to stay where you are, if you feel safe where you are, I'll come and visit you every day until you feel safe with me, until I earn your trust. Let them know that everything that they have gone through, there's a way that we can turn that confusion, that pain, we can turn that into something really meaningful in our lives. We can create a purpose from that. If your inner child didn't get the love they wanted, we can help others to learn from our experience and how to get the love that they need now. Tell your inner child that if they let you help them, that you promise to make good things happen in your future. Let them know that if they stay stuck in the past, it is harder for you as an adult to have a better future. And you would love for them to come with you and build a future that they wanted and let go of things they just can't change. They're too small to do it back then. But you can help them to understand as a child back then, and you're hoping that that means that that will free them up to come with you into the present moment. Make a pledge to your inner child now. Ask them, what would it take? What do you need to come with me into the present moment? You might suddenly get an idea that makes sense to you as an adult. You might suddenly get inspired. Ask them, what do you need? And you might feel sadness. But as an adult, think to yourself, what would you do to a child that's sad? Would you hug them? Would you talk nicely to them? Would you sing a song? Would you just sit with them and be sad with them? So when your child doesn't know how to ask for what they need, ask yourself as an adult, what would I do to my child, for my child, if they were sad? And offer that to your child, your inner child, yourself. And that might be all that you get today, is just time with your inner child. But if your inner child says, I need to play more, I need for someone to recognize how good I am, I need to feel like I'm enough, I need to feel like I fit somewhere, I need to understand, why did they do that? Why did they do that? Make a pledge. Commit to them that you will help them with what they're asking for. Tell them that you are going to earn their trust. Visit them daily about that request. Let them know, give them updates. Check in with them. Ask them, are you doing a better job as an adult to get them what they needed? Commit to finding, getting help, looking up resources, thinking of new ideas. Just being with them until they even figure it out. Just commit to reconnecting and being with your inner child, and you will feel their sadness lift, their tension will shift, because you're committing to helping them get what they say they need for them to be with you here and now. Whether that happens today or over a series of visits, when the time comes where they say that they are ready to come to you, where you have built the trust, where you have made the changes or got the resources, when they see that you are actually living more in the way that they wanted to live, you're more playful, you're more open, you're less judgmental, whatever it is that they're asking for, you need to invite that childlike freedom into your life as an adult. Be more childlike. And when they feel ready to come into your present moment, imagine that they are sitting with you right here and now. They're on your lap, they're beside you, they're sitting on the floor in front of you, wherever they feel comfortable with being in your current space, and give them a tour. Show them all of the great things you have now. Get your child excited about the possibilities and potential that you have now that you never had then. Smile. Be happy that you can give that to them. Give them your energy. It's actually called transference in psychotherapy. It's a transference of confidence, a transference of energy. Transfer your joy in your freedom now to them so they see the difference between your freedom and joy and their stuck confusion. So they actually want to be here in your present moment. So they want to stay with you so you don't have to go back and visit them at the point of that memory. They want to be here with you, learning new things and feeling more free, because they will be more ready to just let it go. Just let it go. It's kind of like when a kid really, really wants something, like say at a store, and they really want it because they see it and they start getting sad. And then you just do the dangly shiny keys. I got a popsicle. Suddenly they don't care. It's like, oh, okay, well, this popsicle is here and now, and I love it. Screw whatever it was in that window that I wanted. They just drop it like a stone. So you have that. They still have that. So if you show them a present moment that is way more fun, shiny than what they had, they are actually, as a kid, as a very young kid anyway, more than likely to just let that go. But remember that because they grew up with you and you're an adult now, there is that growing of, I would still love to know why. And that's where you might seek, somebody like me, a coach and a therapy provider, to get ideas. You might go online and look at what other people have done. You may choose to go into a hypnotherapy session like what I do as a hypnotherapist and go back into this kind of dreamy state and actually feel like you can see them and hear them a little bit more vividly. But for now, I hope that this experience has made a connection for you. And I'm going to count you back from 1, feeling more present and feeling grateful for that connection. 2, feeling like you have hope and more possibility, knowing that your inner child is there. 3, feeling grateful and more connected and more fulfilled. 4, feeling more capable, more inspired, more motivated. And 5, finally 5, feeling present in your body and reconnecting here and now to my voice and to what you see in front of me, to your beautiful space around you and back. Okay? So I hope that served you. I hope that gives you ideas. If you have any questions for those that are watching live, and for anybody that watches the replay of this, I do go back and check if you do post questions onto the video. Reach out. Okay? Because this is the beginning. You're beginning to make this connection. You're beginning to understand that it does matter and that there are ways that, if your child feels left behind, it will hold you back. But if you have any questions, of course, you can say them right now live and I'll answer them. And if not, reach out to me directly or just leave a comment and ask a question. But if there is no comments or questions, we'll call that done. Okay? Thank you very much for watching. And I hope I helped you. And if definitely, if at any point this caused any more confusion or any sadness, just know that that's from a place where it's real in you. And knowing that it's there is the freedom. It is the root of your power, is to understanding that and processing that. Okay? So thank you very much. Reflect on this. And again, if after reflecting on this, you get more questions later, please understand that I am here. You're not just suddenly watching this and it's just some video on YouTube and now you don't know where to go. You can contact me and I can continue this with you. Okay. So thanks a lot again. I hope you have a great night. And until next week, same time, same bat channel, 6:30 next Wednesday. All right. I hope.